Hi, welcome. My name's Andrea. In today's video, I am going to teach you a simple movement sequence that can be done in 3 to 5 minutes to help relieve anxiety, have greater focus, improve your vision, improve your balance, and even lessen some body aches and pains. This movement comes from the Brain Gym program. I'm a very big fan of Brain Gym. It's very integral to a lot of the work that I do, and it's one of my favorite sequences. In this video, you'll see me introducing this sequence to a wonderful woman named Sharon Jasper, and her reactions are real. They're not staged. She gives honest feedback of how this works for her. I urge you to take the time to do this video as if I'm talking to you. Use my instruction and take your time to really see where you are at before we do the movement, and then take the time to see where you're at after we do the movements. I promise you it'll be fun and worth your time. I want to teach you a sequence, a movement sequence that I use and have been using since, do you remember when all those years ago when I was in my 20s when I got really, really sick?
You were really, really sick after you came back from Africa.
Yeah, yeah. And
Oh, India. You were in India.
both. Yeah, when I came back and I was so sick and the doctors had me on all those different medications and nothing was working. And
Yes, I remember well.
oh, I don't know if mom told you, but it got to a really dire point with my nervous system. Like I
Yeah, yeah.
was, the anxiety, I was afraid to go outside. It was like,
Well, you were very sick,
yeah,
very sick. Yeah.
yeah. So when I went to the alternative doctor at sort of a, what do I do? She wasn't like certified doctor, but she did alternative types of practices. And the first thing she did when I got there is she taught me this little bit of what she knew, a little tiny bit of a Brain Gym program that she knew. And within just a few minutes, I just felt like, oh my God, I have a connection. I'm not a shell. And I felt like there was like this light at the end of my tunnel. Like I was just like, oh my, it was just life changing. And this little movement sequence I'm going to teach you today, because the more I do it in life, the more I see its value, and I use it daily. I use it at work. I use it in personal. It's really, really phenomenal. So I'm going to teach it to you. And then what I'll do is, if you're watching this and it's not live, I can put notes below so that you can refer back to. But for you, I can just send you a PDF to remind you of the steps.
All right. All right.
All right. So when you, for me, it was this profound difference because I was so neurologically chaotic, right? My nervous system was in chaos, essentially. So it was easy to feel a dramatic effect. But for most of us, we're not that chaotic all the time. So what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to run you through a series of things to just notice how you feel right now in your body. We'll do the exercises. They're just simple movements. And then we'll go back to seeing how you feel.
Okay.
And we'll see what you notice. Because if we just did it together right now, you might say, well, yeah, I'm a little bit calmer, maybe.
Yeah.
But if I actually give you specific things to think about and notice, we'll have like a good gauge. Does that make sense?
Sure.
All right. So let's start. What I'm going to do is I want you to think about the aches and pains in your body right now and where it's the most uncomfortable. This is great that you're not feeling well, because this is going to give you some information. So on a scale of 1 to 10 on your sinus, in your own mind, give it like 10 is excruciating, 1, you don't have to tell me, just in your own mind, give it a rating. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is get you to look at something. So do you have a pen nearby? So all you're going to do right now is actually look at the pen or the pencil, pick one. And I want you to really notice all the details you can of that pen. Like study it like I'm going to give you a test.
Okay.
And then when you think you've got it, let me know. But take your time, really get to know that pen. Cool. All right. So the next part of this is going to get you to actually stand. Do you have room to stand up
Yeah.
there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to sway. So your feet are going to be about hip widths apart. I'm going to try and back up here to give you an example. So your feet are a little bit apart.
Yep.
And I'm just going to ask you to sway side to side on your feet. And notice what you notice. So consider, are you breathing? First of all. Do you have more weight in your toes or your heels when you're doing this? Or is it even? Are you breathing?
Yeah, that was, I wasn't. I was like really.
So also, is there one side that feels better or is it feeling pretty even? Because, you know, not everything's off. Sometimes it's perfect, but sometimes it's off. We feel more comfortable on one side. And then just notice where your boundary is, where your limit, where you're not going to go farther, where you're just like, nope, that's done. I'm comfortable there. Stop. And breathe. And then when you got it, let me know. The next thing we're going to look at is front to back. So it's the same idea. You're going to have your feet, you know, hips width apart. You're going to just be standing. Don't lock your knees. And I want you just to rock gently. Don't fall back and forth and just see how that feels. Notice how the instruction feels. Does it stress you out? Notice how the movement feels.
Well, it's my balance is not good. So this one is not as comfortable as the side to side. Yeah.
Cool. All right. The last one asks more of you. So don't go beyond what you feel completely comfortable in. I'm going to demonstrate to you what it looks like.
Okay.
But your
Okay.
range might be lower, it might be more, I'm not sure. So
Okay.
the next one is it's top to bottom. So we're reaching as high as we feel comfortable and then going to the ground as low as we feel comfortable. So, you know, this is all just going to be depend on what your range of motion is, but I just want you to get it in your body. So if it's just this, that's all it is. If it's quite a lot, notice that too. And then just notice how the movement feels. Like, is it fluid? Are you breathing? How are you feeling in this? Are you breathing? So what we're going to do is we've just done some very simple few things just to see where we're at. And we're going to do some pressure points, a little bit of movement, and a relaxation pose that really helps with our energies to just move them, get them moving, so for our best optimal self. And let's see what then happens afterwards if we notice any differences in those areas. First step is water.
Yep.
Cool. I'm gonna have a little bit of water. Underneath our clavicle, before our first rib, there's sort of an indent there. And what we want to do is gently rub it and give it some love. So I've had people that, you know, gently rubbing it is really painful. So they just sort of place their hands. And then I have other people who can take a lot more pressure. So it's all individual. Generally, if it hurts when you're rubbing, they need attention. You really need to give these points a good rub. And they come from acupuncture, and they're called your kidney 27s. This hand goes on your belly button, and we just give it a rub. Unlock your knees if they're a little bit locked, and breathe. And while you're rubbing, without turning your head, don't strain, just gently move your eyes to one side. And then across a horizontal plane to the other side. But don't strain. And breathe. And then we're going to switch our hands just to even it out. And make sure you're breathing. Knees aren't locked. Look down at your feet as you're doing this, and they should be about hip widths apart. And the outside of your feet, you want to be parallel. So when you first start that, it feels like you're a little bit pigeon-toed, but that's what we want for good posture and good standing, is the outside of our feet to be parallel. We tend to have our feet kind of out. And then just a gentle eye movement again. And enjoy this, just see how it feels.
Interesting, the eye movement seems easier with this hand.
The subtle things are important. Part of me is wondering, this particular acupressure point is really, really helpful for vision and correcting vision. And I'm wondering if it's that we were stimulating it for long enough that when you switched, your eyes had relaxed a bit.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
All right, so we're done this one.
Yeah.
So the next step, it's a cross lateral movement, and it involves one elbow touching the opposite knee. But again, if it's like, if balance is hard, you can do it sitting in a chair. It sort of looks like, this. Yeah. And then just take your time to do it and check in on your breathing. Like, are you breathing? And slower is better. I kind of wish I had music to go with this right now. It might make it more fun. And typically when I do these, it's all based on how much time I have, So if I have more time, I'll do it a little bit more. But about 25 is a good number. And you can use your hand too. The elbow helps activate the core a little bit, so it's a little bit more powerful, but this works. So we'll do about like 5 more, and then we'll move to the next one. And I'm going to suggest for the next one that you do sit down, because it's a really, I don't know, it's just a comforting movement. And this next movement you can do, like, okay, let's say I'm in a doctor's office and I'm feeling antsy. I'll sit in this position. Let's say I'm in a staff meeting and I'm feeling antsy. I'll sit in this position. It's just like a whole central nervous system. Let's reboot. Let's calm down. So the first thing you do is you just cross your ankles. Okay, not your knees, your ankles. And then I'm going to talk you through this next one, but for mobility purposes, there's some people I work with can't do it and some people can. So I'll show you the full movement, but if you can't do it, then I'm going to give you the modification. Okay. So the full movement is you straighten your arms and put your thumbs up in front of you. And then thumbs down. Open your hands, put one above the other and hold on. And then pull under like that. Are you okay? Can you do this? How does that feel?
Good.
So this is great. So let's do this. Your legs are crossed, and then you're going to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth. And we're just going to do this for about 1 minute. And I'm just going to also ask you to shrug your shoulder up and then just relax it and breathe. And while we're in this position, this is where I sort of Andrea size this sequence. What I like to do is think of something that I'm grateful for, because I was listening to this monk talking recently, and he talked about how when we are grateful, it's hard for our mind to be anything else. So we'll just use this time to be grateful while we're also working with our energies.
So should I be doing this again or just leave?
No, we're just totally, you just want to relax as much as possible. So just nice breathing. If you can, if you're sitting down, just slightly arch your back a little bit and try and get your breath into your belly while you're breathing. Okay. And then we're going to uncross our legs and uncross our hands, and then just bring your fingertips together and breathe. Okay. So now let's see what happened. So how is pain in your sinus?
No, I don't. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, if I had to say, it was probably some better.
How about your shoulders? Did they change from a 6 at all?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, good. How about the pen? If you study it, does anything change?
You mean I look at it again?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I see more details.
Yeah. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More details.
I love that. That's my favorite one, because
Oh yeah.
every time I do it, I'm like, there's nothing more I can see in this pen.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I look at it again and I'm like, oh, but I didn't notice the water.
Yeah.
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 Isn't that fun?
It is fun. Yeah.
I love this stuff. I love this stuff. So now what I'm going to ask you to do is stand up, and we're going to try the movement stuff and see how that goes. Once again, we're just going to rock side to side. How's it feel?
Good. My husband's gonna love that. Dark's gonna love this.
Because I really do believe if somebody's doing this and they're saying, oh my goodness, my balance is so much better, I'm not afraid of falling, that's a miracle, right?
That is.
Total change. How about the front to back? How does that feel?
Well, I might be a little more stable.
Yeah, because the first time you said I have bad balance. That's
yeah, right. And I was wonky.
Yeah. Because even those words, like I have bad balance, to, hey, I might be stable. That's a big shift. Yeah. I love this stuff. It's so powerful.
Yeah. It's so gentle. That's the thing that is.
Yeah. It's subtle and it's profound. And I'm calling all this stuff movement miracles.
Yes.
Yeah. You ready for the next one?
I am.
Okay. So that's where you reach up and down and just notice. How does this one feel? Is there a difference? Because sometimes it affects some of your movements, but not all, depending on the day, depending on the stressors, what you've been doing all day. Did you feel a little more fluid maybe?
I do. Yeah. I do.
Yeah. And that's the 4-part sequence, right? Is water, okay, the buttons here, right? Yeah. The crossing crawl, yes, and then this or this, right?
Yeah.
And any one of those is good in isolation, right? Yeah. But together they're just a powerful sequence, and you can do it anywhere.
You do need to see it in operation though first. So that's, I mean, in being done. This would be so good for older people. The thing, it's how gentle it is. That's.
I'm committed this year to putting out way more YouTube content with all of this stuff, sharing it with anybody I know, because it's so powerful and it's so subtle. It's not hard,
No, it's not hard. No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that was so much fun. Did you see the shifts that happened and even in the language she was using? Imagine that. We just did 4 simple movements and already she shifted from a place of not as much balance, greater aches and pains, not able to see the details, to a completely different shift. It's miraculous. I'm so in love with this stuff. Truly, I am. One of the great things to keep in mind is we didn't need any special equipment. I didn't need to take her to a studio. We were just doing this in our own home, in a room, and it's as easy and as gentle as that for very profound differences. So if you took the time to do this with me, and I'm assuming you did, please comment below and write in, even if it's just one word, improved vision, 2 words, or less aches. Just write in the comments below. And if you've got something specific, like if, you had a certain leg pain that went away, or, definitely your headache lessened, write it down, because the more people share, the more we can see how it can benefit us in lots of different areas of our lives. Now, if you want to watch a faster version of this, once you have it down and you're thinking, well, I just need to watch this again, but I don't want to take 30 minutes to do the movements, I only want to take maybe 5 minutes, click the link above, because I just demonstrate the movements there and walk you through it without the whole before and after. This way you have a quick, easy access to be supported through it without having to take all the time that we did today to basically show you what it's doing for you. So I'll see you next time with more movement miracles. Until then, enjoy this sequence. Ugh.